Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit, and Tribes is out. Finally, it has now been released. It is out of the beta phase and into its release phase, and of course, it is free to play as always, so easy enough to get involved. But I wanted to focus this update on the new mode that's been put in with the release date version, which is Capture and Hold. And this map, of course, which is Rain Dance. Oh yes, Rain Dance, the famous Tribes 1 map, widely considered to be the best Tribes map ever made, and now faithfully recreated within Tribes Ascend. And I can tell you for a fact that it's pretty damn fantastic. I didn't have any actual experience with Star Siege Tribes, sad to say. When Star Siege Tribes actually came out, I wasn't even using a PC, so it wasn't really an option for me, but I have heard an awful lot about it, and this map was the one that got people the most excited when they heard that it was coming. It was shown off at PAX, and now it's actually in the game in two modes, Capture and Hold as well as Capture the Flag. The thing I've got to say about this map is you can get up a hell of a lot of speed on it. Now, please bear in mind that my speed is done in miles per hour, not kilometers per hour, so take the value, times it by 1.6, and you will get the kilometers per hour value. If you don't fancy the math, then let me just say, you go pretty damn fast. I'm playing a soldier at the moment, and I believe I end up going over 300 kph, which is fairly ridiculous considering no disc jumps or anything else were involved. Once you start learning the routes on this map, which will be useful when you play the Capture the Flag mode, not so much when you're playing Capture and Hold, you will be able to get some serious damn speed up. It's also the largest map, as far as I'm aware. Like, it is a similar size to Katabatic, as far as I can tell, which, to my knowledge, was at least the largest map in the map pool. This is larger, and that in itself is pretty damn awesome. But you've got these really deep valleys around the place that allow you to get big air and big speed if you happen to do so properly. Now, in Capture and Hold mode, you've got a selection of points, and there's currently 3 maps in the rotation for it. There's Katabatic, and then there's a version of Arx Novena, which has 3 points. I've got footage from that, and I'll show you why it's kind of awful after we've had a look at Rain Dance. Now, Rain Dance has got 5 points, so that means it's the one in the map pool that actually has the most, and you capture the points, and kind of, I suppose, a Wrathy Basin style. If you used to play World of Warcraft at any point, you'll know how this works, or indeed Battlefield, any of the other similar capture point kind of setups. It's all about holding the points and seeing your tickets go up in this case, as opposed to actual ticket drain. You'll see the points up to the top there, and you'll see the rate at which points are being acquired because we have a hold of the control points there. Capping them is pretty easy, which is interesting. You can cap them much, much faster than in other games. For instance, in other games, you generally have to stand there while it caps. All you need to do here is touch it. It takes a few seconds for it to kick in. Like, for instance, when you skate through, you'll get the cap, but you won't be able to use the inventory stations that are in the area, and you won't get the benefit of the radar or the turrets in that area for a few seconds. And you'll notice if you keep an eye on the top of the screen, things like that end up happening. There, right there, you'll see that the point E had that little timer thing going around it. Well, that indicates that it's been grabbed and the cap is in progress. It's very, very quick, and switching back is very quick as well. Now, I don't know if that's the best way to do things, but that is the way that it's currently done. The mode itself seems pretty damn enjoyable. As regards to how tactical it is, well, you know, you're playing on PUBG servers, it's kind of difficult to say. I actually hit him there as well, which is fairly incredible, but it's pretty difficult to say how tactical it is, but it does seem to work fairly well. I actually think that on PUBG servers is a better mode than Capture the Flag, simply because it is easier to understand. It's like, oh, you see the point is the enemy point? Well, we're going to go get it. It's really as simple as that. And heavies have a tendency of staying indoors. Not so much on this map, because this is the Capture the Point map with the least indoor action in comparison to the other two, but heavies tend to stay indoors, and they tend to stay on the defensive, and then you've got light classes will generally go for caps and will also engage, especially on this map, because you can get up so much speed. Light classes are very, very useful. You can really kick it very, very fast, and you've got a lot of maneuverability. Although I have to say that they're not as useful as they are on Katabatic, because Katabatic's got 2 control points which are extremely high up. Very, very high up indeed. Very difficult to get to. If you're a heavy class, you're not going to have fun getting up there. Trust me, it is a very, very unpleasant thing. So I would say that on that map, you've got a lot of heavies will be at the bottom control points, and those are indoor fights anyway, so it's to be expected. And then you've got an awful lot of light classes and sometimes mediums that will fight over the top control point. So it's a bit segregated in that respect. But it's also nice because if you have one of those control points, you can spawn from it, and then you can just go skating all the way down, and it's absolutely fantastic. You can see how quick it is to lose all your points. We just got all 5 of ours capped, and now are immediately capping them back, so things tend to go backwards and forwards very, very fast on this map. But I think you can see the amount of speed that I can actually get up here as a soldier, which is in itself fairly impressive. Oh, ho, ho! That's gonna hurt. I'll grab myself one of those. There we go. It doesn't even take an awful lot of effort, honestly. It just takes a basic understanding of how skiing works. Points-wise, you get 200 points for a capture and hold, which is actually a surprisingly low amount, but considering how easy it is to do, I can't really blame them. And then you get 100 points every time you stay within vicinity of a capture point for a certain short period of time. So if you want to play a heavy indoors, you're going to earn a lot of points for that. From what I've seen, this map of the 3 is the lowest point-scoring map, simply because there's not a lot of indoor action. If you think about how the generator room works, right, and the fact that people tend to play Capture the Generator just a little bit too much on puppy servers in Capture the Flag, which is not all that helpful. They do it because it's easy points. Not only is it easy points for killing the generator, it's easy points for killing the people inside the generator room. It's indoor combat. If you play a heavy class, you've got a natural advantage in that situation, and that was sick! I'm sorry, it was. This map's got some really, really great speed going for it, and it just gives this authentic Tribes experience. It's awesome. It really is. It feels better than any other map in the map pool at the moment, I've got to say. Anyway, the point is that on the other 2 maps, there's a lot of indoor action, so there's a lot of farming going on. Arx Navina, which I'll show you, it's not called Arx Navina, but it's obviously based on Arx Navina, same architecture. It's called Outskirts 3P. That map is pretty ridiculous in terms of farming points because there's one area in it where it's very easy to do so. You'll see that shortly. Aside from that, changes in the patch haven't really been all that significant, honestly. They've put an in-game messaging system in there, which you can turn off by going to Settings, Notifications, but it keeps resetting itself at the moment, so that's something they do need to fix. As, honestly, an IM client is not exactly what I was looking for in this game. If I wanted that, I'd probably still play WoW. Custom server functionality has got a demo mode going on at the moment. It's not ideal because, of course, you can't rent and set up your own servers. If you want to check out how all of that works, don't watch this video. There is a video on the Tribes channel that explains all of that and does so in a much better way because they can show you all of the custom server settings. What I like about the servers that they're going to be putting out to rent are that you actually have a lot of customization that can all be done inside the client. That, to me, is a huge deal. So being able to administrate and manage your server very easily without needing any kind of external control panel website or Archon controls is very useful indeed. I very much doubt they'll be putting out the server software because, of course, it's a free-to-play game. It's going to be one of their income methods to actually rent servers out to you. So as long as the prices are fine, I don't see any problem with it. It's just if it becomes unreasonable because there's a monopoly on it or whatever, then we might start running into problems. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, and we'll find out shortly, no doubt, as to how much these servers will cost. And no doubt we'll run 1 or 2, I think. Alright, so anyone want a disco party at point A? This is the Arx Navina based map. It's the smallest map in the capture and hold map pool, and this is what's wrong with it in a nutshell. Whoever designed this is a sadist, or really loves Brute and Juggernauts, and is a sadist. I can't imagine any other reason for it. That one point is an absolute massacre all the time. There's no real skill involved in taking it, but my god, does it benefit you to be a Brute or a Juggernaut. If you mortar spam in there, you're just going to get free kills. If you have fractal grenades, i.e. if you're playing the Brute, then enjoy, because once again, that's just free kills as well. And as a result, you tend to get an awful lot of tactical and orbital strikes on this map, because farming points is really easy. As a Brute or a Juggernaut, I can very easily get 25, 30k points on this map without really doing anything, just by sitting around and farming on point A. You just run in there, you toss your 3 fractal grenades. Chances are you'll actually get more as well, because there's so many ammo packs lying around. It's very easy to get it back. If you hold the point, then you can just go right back in the inventory station, grab yourself another 3, toss them around there, and then, of course, finish people off with your heavy spin fuser. You can alternatively play a Juggernaut and use MIRV or the Fusion Mortar in there to great effect. Once you've got 10k points, you can drop an Orbital Strike on a position, farm a bunch more money, and keep doing it. It's brainless, it's pointless, and it's not very fun, honestly. The other 2 points on this map are much more open, and you'll tend to find light and medium classes over there. It's mostly just a heavy war in here. If you go in here as a light class, you will die incredibly fast, because there's almost always a disco grenade down at some point, as you can see, and horrible things will happen to you. I don't even think there's any skill required in being in that room. It's mostly just luck. Throw your grenades, start trying to pick people off, and hope that you last longer than they do. And you'll actually end up with a really good KD if you do that. It's not really people's fault for doing it. You can hardly blame them. I mean, that's what the point is evidently designed around. There's nothing else you can really do with it. As for this point, well, you'll tend to find it's fairly well defended. People play Technicians on this map. There are certain points, specifically that one, where turrets do work extremely well. I wouldn't even recommend going up there as a heavy, honestly. Maybe stay out of range and shell it as a Juggernaut, but I wouldn't take a Brute up there. The interesting thing about the Brute, actually, is that we've said for a while that the Brute is probably the least useful class, simply because what it does can be done better, or can be done by a class with more flexibility than the Brute. The Brute doesn't really excel in a way that, say, the Juggernaut doesn't. I mean, the Brute is designed for 2 things, really. It's for knocking out base defenses, which is really what the Raider's supposed to be for. You might notice if you play a Brute how much damage your Heavy Spin Fuse will actually do when fully upgraded to a base defense or radar. Yeah, it's really, really effective. They're also good at indoors brawling. They're very, very well shielded. They're very difficult to kill. They've got heavy hitting weapons. Problem is there that a Juggernaut can kind of do that too, and potentially actually has more destructive capability, specifically because of MIRV and Fusion Mortar. So there are some arguments over that, but what I will say is that in Capture and Hold, the Brute is extremely effective on this map for obvious reasons. On Katabatic, there are 2 indoor points, which are the places you'd expect. It's the indoor section from where the generator is on the Capture the Flag mode of that map. You don't have to go into the generator room because there is no generator, essentially, but if you remember, there's kind of that hallway with the 2 conduits down to the generator room, and then there's this big sort of wide open lobby. That's where the capture point is. So the Brute is incredibly effective in there. If you toss a fractal grenade in there, you can cover most of the capture point in fractal very easily, and you will be super effective. You can also do it with a Juggernaut as well, but the problem is on that map, as I said, if you're going to play a heavy, you're pretty much going to be restricted to 1 of 2 points, because getting up to the high points is a real pain in the ass. Oh, Orbital Strikes, yes. And I hope you enjoy Orbital Strikes, because you're going to get a hell of a lot of them thrown at you on this particular map. I would hope, actually, that they do take this map out of the map pool. It's really not very well designed at all. Katabatic is pretty cool. Rain Dance is brilliant. And this is awful. It really is so incredibly terrible. Oh, man. I don't even know what's going on with my aim here. There we go. Down you go. Fantastic. But that pretty much covers it. Like I said, the mode is good. It's certainly a lot more fun than Arena, in my opinion. It's a good team-based mode that can be played in pubbies without too much of a problem. I don't expect a huge amount of team or tactical play in this, especially bearing in mind how quick it is for points to actually change hands. But for a pubby mode, if you're not wanting to do a bit of capture the flag, then there's certainly some value here. I think the class that's probably going to be the least happy with this mode is probably Technician. They don't really have a big role to play. Yes, you can deploy turrets on certain points, but of course, if the turrets are indoors, they'll probably just get blown up by Juggernauts or Brutes very easily anyway. Point B is a great place to put them, but once again, that can actually be shelled by Juggernauts on the hill as well, so maybe they won't last. And also, repairing is really not that relevant. Every point has got a sensor and sometimes a turret as well. But the thing is, once it changes hands, it actually goes into the control of the other team. So repairing it when you might just end up having it used against you 5 seconds later doesn't seem all that useful. I wouldn't necessarily rate Infiltrator either, because there's really nothing for you to actually go and destroy indoors. You might as well play another class if you're going to do that. You might be able to get a surprise attack with the Jackal or whatever, but more often than not, you see those big fights in there, you don't want to go in there as an Infiltrator. You'll get caught out, probably by a stray Spin Fuse, a Mortar Shot, Fractal Grenade, you name it. Sentinels are going to have a pretty good time. Not so much on this map, but certainly on Katabatic and Rain Dance. Katabatic in particular, the high ground points give an absolutely fantastic sniping position. You can snipe people as they try to get up the hill, so that's pretty much like shooting ducks in a barrel, honestly. Yes, I did say ducks, not fish. They're a bigger target, plus they're, quite frankly, more delicious in my honest opinion. Yeah, Sentinel will do well there. As for the medium classes, well, Soldier's pretty good for most of this. I'd say less so on this map just because of this indoor point, although the anti-personnel grenades that you get as the Soldier are very effective in there, so they're worth giving a shot. But I wouldn't want to go in there as a Soldier, honestly. I really wouldn't. You go in there as a heavy class, or go in there with a Raider with a shield pack, so you might actually have a bigger chance at surviving. Speaking of the Raider, Raider's got limited use in this particular mode because really the Raider should be clearing flag stands and blowing up defenses, and you're not going to have a lot of that here because there are no flag stands to clear. You're not going to find as many static defenses on the ground either, which of course brings me to the point of the Technician. On this map, the Technician is not as effective as far as I'm concerned. Technician is great for defending indoors as well as, of course, repairing base structures. Occasionally catching people out around the flag stand with a well-placed turret. Not so much of a role here. As I said, don't really bother repairing the base structures all that regularly because they'll probably get taken over by the other side very quickly anyway and end up getting used against you. I also don't see people upgrading on this map, assuming you even can. I've never actually tried doing so. So the tech's a bit limited. The Doombringer has similar problems because there's no flag stand to defend, once again. So putting down static defenses such as force fields and mines really isn't all that useful. In Capture the Flag, you've got light classes, mostly the Pathfinder, going in for a capture. They try and grab the flag, and they will be caught out by a force field or by mines and so on and so forth. You don't get that here. There are no real routes for capturing. You just go there and you cap it. It's as simple as that. It's not too much of a problem. So I don't rate the Doombringer all that well. Of course, the chain gun still works as well as it always does here, but there's also not a lot of vehicles, so the Saber Launcher isn't all that helpful. Although it wouldn't surprise me, actually, to see the Doombringer being used quite a bit on Rain Dance simply because of the high-flying nature of the map. Saber Launcher would work pretty well there. Chain gun would work pretty well there since it's a lot of airborne combat, but Katabatic and this map, probably not so much, and certainly not in a defensive capacity. You are going to want to try and do some damage with it as opposed to sitting on a flag or indeed sitting on a point. You're probably better off doing so with Brute or a Juggernaut as far as I'm concerned. Brute, very, very good on this map. Pretty good on Katabatic, not so good on Rain Dance. The indoor points don't seem to have a huge amount of action in them. I would not rate the class as well for that specific map. Juggernaut, pretty much good for all maps one way or the other, simply because it's a very, very versatile class. You can do indoor combat very well, and you can also do outdoor shelling, so it seems to do the job. I think that pretty much covers it, honestly. It's not a bad little mode. I think I'll be playing a little bit more of that, although this map, oh god. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see this gone sooner rather than later. My name's been Totalbiscuit, taking a look at the release patch for Tribes and the Capture and Hold mode. If you want to play Tribes, it is a free-to-play game. There is a sign-up link in the description below this video. Yes, it's a referral link. You will get an experience boost if you sign up over that. And if I get 10,000 referrals, I get to build a map for this thing, which will be interesting to say the least. And if I do get to do that, my plan is to help, hopefully with the aid of the community, get one of the great maps from either Tribes 1 or Tribes 2 over into the pool. That would be pretty damn awesome. I'll see you next time.